11 of the fantasy basketball season. And here's a few forwards I would add this week. Time of recording this video, none of these guys have been put on the safety or protocol list here. And I know guys have been going on and dropping like flies for NBA rosters. But right now, like I mentioned, recording the video, everyone's good to go. The first guy I pick up this week's Otto Porter Jr. of the Golden State Warriors. So Otto Porter Jr., he's been pretty solid in his first season here with the Warriors. On the season, 8 points a game, 5 rebounds, 1.2 assists, 1.5 threes a game, and 46% from the field. So the last few weeks here, he's been getting more playing time, and his numbers have gone up just a bit here as well for Porter Jr. 11 points a game, 6.6 rebounds, 1.8 assists, 1.6 blocks a game, and 1.4 threes with an awesome 55% from the field. To the last 3 games here for Porter Jr. since he's returned. December 20th versus the Kings, 12 points, 5 boards, 2 assists, a steal, 4 blocks, 2 threes, 55% from the field. December 23rd versus Memphis, 8 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, 3 blocks, 2 threes, 42% from the field. Then December 25th at Phoenix, 19 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, 3 threes, and 61% from the field. So this Warrior team, one of the best teams this season here in the NBA. And Otto Porter Jr., he's a nice guy to come off the bench or slide into that 3 or 4 spot when they need him for Golden State. And he's a versatile forward. We saw with him a few seasons ago where he got that big contract, but obviously he didn't live up to it. But right here, he got a cheap deal from Golden State. And this year, he's been fitting this roster pretty well. When he's available still, is Otto Porter in 68% of fantasy leagues. The next forward I'd look to get this week plays Denny Avila of the Washington Wizards. So he was a lottery pick last season here, was Avila. And this season, it hasn't been that great of a year, but the last few weeks here with Bradley Beal now on the protocol list, he's been playing good basketball, and in my opinion, he's a temporary add this week off the wire. On the season, 7 points a game, 4.9 rebounds, 1.3 assists, 45% from the field. So the last couple weeks here, like I mentioned, with more playing time, 11.6 points a game, 4.8 rebounds, 2 assists, 1.6 steals, a block, 1.2 threes a game, and 58% from the field. So right here, he's getting a lot of categories right now, is Avila. And right here, like I mentioned, he was a high pick a few seasons ago for this Wizard team. And they're not just going to sit him on the bench and not play him at all. But right now, if he could get that 25 to 30 minute mark here, I think he could be pretty decent for fantasy owners. December 16th at Phoenix, 14 points, 4 boards, 4 assists, 2 steals, a 83% from the field. December 18th at Utah, 11 points, 7 boards, 2 assists, 2 steals, a block, 2 threes, 80% from the field. And December 23rd at the Knicks, 14 points, 5 boards, 2 assists, 3 blocks, a 3, and 62% from the field. So we know coming from overseas in the draft, he was a good 3-point shooter. And it hasn't translated really into the NBA, but at least the last few games here, he's picking up the pace. He's playing good basketball. Owners have got him in 16% of fantasy leagues, but right now he's still out there in 80% of leagues, and he could give you many categories. Is Avila. The next guy's Darius Bailey of the OKC Thunder. So Bailey here, he's been hot and cold this season, is the youngster for this Thunder team. And last season, no doubt about it, he had a better year than he has this year. But right now, in the last week or two, his stats are starting to get going. On the season, 9 points a game, 6.5 rebounds, 1.2 assists, 1.3 blocks a game, a 3, and 38% from the field here for Bailey. So Bailey, he's going to get a lot of playing time. This Thunder team, obviously rebuilding, and they want to see what they got for the future here. And they still got a boatload of draft picks coming up in the next few seasons as well. December 20th at Memphis, 10 points, 7 rebounds, and assists, 4 blocks, a 3, 57% from the field. December 22nd versus the Nuggets, 17 points, 11 rebounds, and assists, 2 blocks, a 3, 63% from the field. And December 23rd at Phoenix, 8 points, 10 boards, and assists, a steal, a block, a 3, and 33% from the field. So right here, Bailey, he gives you 4 or 5 categories. Not a great 3-point shooter. Field goal percentage isn't really going to be all that great as well, even though over the last few games it's gone up. But right here, more rebounds, scoring about 10, 12 points a game, and a decent guy with other categories in steals and blocks. So if you need that at the forward position, I think he's a decent add, and he's available in 72% of fantasy leagues. The next forward's Nicolas Batum of the Los Angeles Clippers. So now with Paul George who's coming down, I've mentioned a lot of Clippers to add this week here. And right now, Batum's available in 74% of fantasy leagues. George, he's going to be out 3 to 4 weeks, and they're going to need a few guys to fill in and put up the points like he does. So on the season here for Batum, 8.7 points a game, 4.5 boards, 1.5 assists, 1.2 steals a game, 2.1 threes, and 50% from the field. So Batum over the last few seasons here, he's really improved that three-point shot, and that's why he's still in the NBA with his good defensive prowess and him shooting the three ball. But now with Paul George out, he's going to have to do a little bit more in the scoring end and hitting the three ball. But he gives you a few categories. He's a decent rebounder. He'll get the 3 or 4 assists a game and maybe 1.5 to 2 steals a game in an expanded role. And he's a guy as well who's got to get his legs on the rim. He just came off the protocol list a few games ago. So December 18th at the Thunder, 12 points, a rebound, 2 assists, 2 steals, 66% from the field. December 20th versus the Spurs, 3 points, a 3, 25% from the field. And December 22nd at the Sacramento Kings, 4 points, 2 boards, 3 assists, 2 steals, a block, and 33% from the field. So right now with George out here, I expect more playing time than the 17 to 20 minutes a game here that Batum was getting. And he's definitely a player I would look to get this week. And the fifth and final player I would look to add at the forward positions, his teammate Luke Kennard of the Los Angeles Clippers. So like I mentioned, a lot of guys are going to have to fill in. A lot of guys are going to get playing time here for this Clipper team. And now with Paul George out, it's especially more urgent now for these guys to get going and to be picked up in fantasy leagues. So on the season here for Kennard, 11.7 points a game, 3.5 rebounds, 2 assists, 2.8 threes a game, and 43% from the field. So right here, we know he can score the basketball. We know he's a good three-point shooter. I know the rebounds aren't all that great for a forward. At only 3.5 on the season, but now with George out, he's going to be getting more chances to shoot the basketball because the playing time's already been there. But more chances with the ball in his hands and more chances to hit the three ball. The last few games here for Kennard, December 15th at Utah, 10 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 threes, 33% from the field. December 18th at the Thunder, 27 points, 7 boards, 3 assists, a steal, 7 threes, 50% from the field. And December 20th versus the Spurs, 5 points, 2 boards, an assist, a steal, a 3, and 25% from the field. So I know December 22nd he missed the ball game with hip soreness. But right here, the next game is tonight for this Clipper team versus the Denver Nuggets. And we'll see if he plays, but I don't think he's going to be out long term. He's had 3 or 4 days to relax now ever since not playing the December 22nd ball game here is Kennard. And I think here he'll get back on the court and put up decent numbers. So that's a few forwards I look to add here for Week 11 of the fantasy basketball season.